I'm looking, but I just don't see it. No, they do not deliver banana splits by DoorDash. Sorry, you're just gonna have to eat the ice cream in the fridge. Scully can be so demanding. Let's see if some ghost stories can calm him down. Well, hello, my spooky friends and wonderful wild weirdos. Yeah, it's hot. He wants ice cream. Look, maybe we'll make a root beer float later, okay? Will that make you happy? Let's get into the ghost stories because I want him to calm himself down. What a nut job. Okay, our first story comes from Debbie Payshon. When I lived in a house with my two children in Ohio, I started noticing things that weren't right. I had thousands of green flies in my kitchen. Yes, thousands. Oh my goodness. I don't like the way this is starting. I called my mom and asked her could cause it, and she said there was something dead in the house. I looked everywhere but couldn't find anything. Then a couple of days later, I took laundry down to the basement, and on the landing laid a dead bird. I searched for a way for it to get in, but that basement was sealed tight. I got rid of the bird, but decided to check the next day. Same thing, a dead bird. On the third day, same thing. I went into the basement again to look around, and that's when I felt what I believed to be a demon breathing down my neck. Its breath was so hot. I never ran so hard and so fast in my life. As soon as I found another house, we moved immediately. I don't blame you at all. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, one dead bird, there's no explanation, but, did you have a chimney or any kind of opening? But you're saying the basement was sealed tight. But even one bird, you could think, I don't know how it happened, but somehow it happened. But then the day after and the day after, and all the flies being in your kitchen, yeah, that's never a good sign. There have been times that I felt, I don't know how, I want to say this lightly, kind of cursed. And I find a dead bird somewhere in my yard um, that is not with no explanation. Okay, it's weird. And what's funny about it is we have outdoor cats as well as indoor. On the cusp of history. What the heck? Democratic nomination for president, the first woman of color to be the nominee of a major post, Jay O'Brien in Washington. In today's big story. Y'all, that was crazy. My TV just turned on. I mean, I know you could hear the blast. I mean, like it started playing. It's not on a channel. That was weird. And there's nothing. Okay. I don't know. But you know what I said? This happens sometimes. That is bizarre. But anyway, I was saying we had outside cats, and, no animal, dog or cat, when I get one of these, I don't know how to explain it. It just looks and feels different, like it was placed there instead of like the bird, died. And obviously, it was not killed by one of the cats. There are no marks on it, that kind of thing. Yeah. And all the animals stay away from it. Like they won't go around it. The dog won't even sniff it. And you know how dogs are with, dead things. And I have heard that some people try to place curses or something on you with dead birds. I don't know. I've had a bunch of dead bird stories, so I kind of tend to believe that there was something going on in that house, and I am glad that you moved. And I wish the ghost would leave my TV alone. That's all I'm saying. This next one comes from Sherry Stiers. I'm currently working as a housekeeper in a nursing home, and one of our department heads, I can't think of her job title right now, will occasionally do a blessing. She will walk down each hall with, I'm assuming, holy water or anointing oil and say prayers as she puts the water or oil down all over the halls. Okay. Like, look, I have done that. I have had to pray over places. I mean, it's one thing just to walk and pray for your little patients at night, but there are times that there is something evil in here, and I have had to do that more than once in facilities that I worked at. Um, I'm never really sure where it came from, how it got in, but yeah, you pray it out. And if you need some holy water or anoint it with oil, I'm good with that. Okay, here is another submission by Miss Debbie Payshon. I lived with my son in a house that had several spirits. One hated it when my son would watch anything about World War II. It would get violent and start slamming doors. Oh, yeah, I'm out on that. There were two doppelgangers, one of my son's ex girlfriend's daughter and one of her son. I watched the doppelganger boy go into the little girl's room and the little girl go in the boy's room. I went up to check on them both, and they were both sound asleep. Then, on another night, at about 3 a.m., we woke up by the police knocking on the door. They said the house alarm had been triggered and they were investigating. There was no house alarm. Oh. It had been disconnected years ago. No wires or anything was even left in this relic. We explained all of this to the cop and he left. Half an hour later, the same cop came knocking again, saying the same alarm was activated. My son showed him it was impossible for it to work. The cop shook his head and said, "Have a good night." A few mornings later, I saw my grandpa from the waist up. That house was really active. We no longer live there. Well, that's probably a good thing, Debbie, if the alarm's going to keep going off. I wonder what that was about. And how do they do that? Like, are ghosts really handy in the afterlife? Like, do they learn skills? I can really kind of understand, seriously, about manipulating wires and, lights, maybe electricity and stuff. But if there are no wires, how do you activate an alarm? I mean, you had some talented ghosts there. And I hate the doppelgangers. Yeah, I've had a lot of experience with those. And now there's some policeman out there who's telling that story. I kept going to this house and there was no alarm. Weird. I would have liked to know what system the ghosts were on. you know? I mean, it obviously wasn't a ring camera, so, what kind of service did they use? Sounds like a good investment if they're going to go off when they're not even connected. This one comes from Andrea L. My great grandmother was nearing end of life in a nursing facility where she resided due to Alzheimer's. She told my mother during one visit that my grandfather, her son, had walked by her room and waved, but when she called to him, he did not come in. My grandfather had passed the year before, but due to her condition, she was not aware. When she passed peacefully, my mom always said, "He came in." Well, we have a lot of stories about that kind of thing, about relatives passing by the door and not coming in until the person is ready to pass. So I guess he did come in eventually. We had the one story not too long ago where someone was very upset because they wouldn't come into the room. So, yeah, I guess that's a thing. That's more of a new thing that I'm hearing from you all that I'm not as familiar with. So, that's pretty cool. All right, Carrie Hughes says, my son's partner was in labor with their third child. Lily got stuck and Paula exhausted herself pushing. The doctor rushed out to get some forceps. Paula spoke to a nurse in an old fashioned uniform who said she just needed to give one final push and all would be okay. Somehow she found the strength and Lily was born before the doctor returned. My son was with Paula. He didn't see anyone, but Paula swears it wasn't a hallucination. The nurse was solid, walked through the door, and spoke to her, disappearing as Lily was born. Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder. I assume that she had pain medicine, although they don't generally give you stuff that makes you groggy because it affects the baby's heartbeat. But even if she was, because she was tired, sometimes that state of kind of twilight, to me, it seems like it thins the veil between the physical and the spiritual world. So, yeah, maybe that is what happened. And in that moment, she was able to see the nurse, who apparently was still on duty, or angel, we don't know, disguised as a nurse, maybe, but helped her with that one last push. Whoever it was, we're all thankful. Okay, I'm going to attempt this name. Olagente? Olagente? Olagente. Olagente. Okay, that's what I'm going with. Olagente. I attended university with a lady who was continuing to work as a nurse while studying. We were both mature students in our early 40s studying psychology. We both got talking about spooky things, and I asked her if she had ever seen anything. She told me that when she was working in ICU at about 3 a.m., she had just checked on patients up and down the open plan ward. Suddenly, she noticed a nun coming away from bedside the bed of an elderly lady down at the other end of the ward. She hurriedly walked back down to the ward to find that the elderly lady had passed away. She said that many of her nurse colleagues had told of spooky things that happened to them over the years while nursing. I am sure she did. Why is it that the nuns are always the nurses that seem to never quit working? And my question is when she saw the nun, leaving and the lady had passed, was she like guiding her to the afterlife? That's what I kind of hope is going on. But I've seen the movie The Nun, and that one was terrifying, and I'm not sure she would be there to help anybody. I'm just saying. But I think in these stories, from what we've always read, they seem to be good ones. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't hurt to keep an eye out, though, right? Jesse James says, once nursing staff was documenting at the desk when one looked at the monitor and saw a resident walking in the hall holding a little girl's hand. They looked down the hall, and only the resident could be seen walking. Of course, it was in the middle of the night, so there was no little girl. This resident, who suffered from Alzheimer's, had lost a little girl due to a tragic accident. Oh, okay, I get it. So you were looking on the monitor and you saw the resident with the little girl, but like when you look with your naked eyes down the hall, you just see the resident. But the fact that there was that tragic accident with the little girl just seems to suggest that maybe she was coming. I'd like to know, did this patient pass away soon after that, or was this little girl just always kind of present and hanging around? That's really interesting. But yeah, what you see on a electronic device, I can say this even from camera when I have been filming my videos, when I would do stuff around the house, when I was, doing a heavy renovation, I would catch stuff on film that I was looking at with my naked eye and never saw it. And that is freaky because you see it on the screen, but you're also looking at it with your bare eyes like you're looking at both, and it only appears on one. So that is really kind of interesting. That's the best word for it, right? Okay, so those are all of the ghost stories we have tonight. I'm going to go get him some ice cream, maybe make him a float, and then try to get some rest. I hope you have a lovely rest of the day, night, weekend, weekday, whenever you're watching this. And I hope you get an ice cream float too. But whatever you do, just remember to stay spooky, y'all. Bye-bye.